the point of working many hours per week is essentially non-existent. In a recent interview, N.R. Narayan Murthy said that India's productivity is among the lowest in the world. There is no dispute, of course, in his statement, but Murthy's solution is problematic as it requires young people to work even 70 hours a week. Long term economic growth requires, of course, enhancing productivity. According to economists of all stripes, three factors play a role in improving productivity. That is, the pace and extent of technological diffusion, and the quality of human capital, and the effectiveness of public investment. These three play a crucial role in improving the productivity. The data from International Labour Organization disputes the claims of Narayan Murthy. India's productivity is among the lowest in the world not because Indians don't work long enough. Indians clock an average of almost 48 hours of work per week, one of the highest in the world, according to ILO. Technology and human capital have everything to do with the inverse relationship between hours worked and productivity. Although the average French worker worked only about 30 hours a week, India's productivity per hour in 2021 was $8.47, while that of France was $58.5. This is what is the difference. In spite of stellar economic growth record over three successive decades, China even does poorly even today due to the fact that almost 25% of its workforce is still employed in agriculture. Its hourly productivity in 2021 was only $13.53. When political and corporate leaders invest in the right things, of course, productivity is poised to increase. According to Stanford University, there is no relationship between hours worked and productivity. Stanford University debunks this claim. When a person works for more than 50 hours a week, productivity per hour declines sharply, according to economics professor of Stanford University, John Pencavel. There is no point in working any more hours after 55 hours since productivity drops so drastically. People who work up to 70 hours a week are only getting the same amount of work done as those who put in 55 hours. Overwork causes decreased output for two main reasons. It should be noted that in cases where overwork has been observed to decrease total output, the average productivity must have decreased sufficiently so that the total output produced under such circumstances, that is 60 hours work per week multiplied by the decreased average productivity, is actually less than the total output produced under normal conditions. There are two primary explanations for this dramatic decrease in average productivity. First, employees may simply become less efficient due to stress, fatigue, and other factors, making them significantly less productive than during normal working hours. Consequently, overworked employees may simply be less productive at all hours of the workday to the point that the additional hours they work provide no benefit, in fact, are detrimental. There is no doubt that this explanation is very plausible. A lack of sleep is often a result of overworking, and lack of sleep has been shown to negatively impact productivity throughout the day. In some ways, this second explanation extends the first explanation for the dramatic decrease in productivity that has been observed in overworked employees. During some periods of work, the diminished productivity of overworked employees may be less pronounced, while during others it may be more pronounced. It's possible for an overworked employee to be just as productive or almost as productive during his or her first 4 hours of work while working 60 hours a week as he or she is during his or her 40 hour a week. After a certain point, though, productivity may drop so drastically that it becomes negative, as in the case of 8 hours of work. A person who has been overworked may become so fatigued after a certain number of hours, or perhaps on the last day of the week, that additional work would result in mistakes and oversights that would take longer to fix than the additional hours they put in. Workers using heavy machinery who are overworked are more likely to suffer injuries and to damage or otherwise wreck the goods they are working on. This is a well known fact in industrial labor. So, all in all, when we look at the theory of overworking and working for 70 hours a week as proposed by Narayan Murthy is completely irrational, and his statement that that's the only solution and that's the way for India to grow to the size of American economy is also absolutely irrational. The problem of India is not the work culture, not the number of working hours. The problem of India is vast number of people in India do not find the required work that they want to do because the opportunities either are not created or they are not there. That being so, it's must for all the policymakers, opinion makers, and influencers like Mr. Narayan Murthy to stress press on making the skill set available to people in the first instance, and then making the required opportunities available to such enthusiasts is also the responsibility of the policymakers of this country. Unless you go for an inclusion of more people to come forward and work, if you just focus on a few working class people working for more hours, it's not going to yield any kind of good results. Hope the information is useful. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.